start decks for Overdress were released back in May of 2021 and were followed by set 1 merely a week later. Since then, we have received quite a few more sets, and with the Overdress anime having aired its final episode and the DivineZ era looming over the horizon, we thought it would be appropriate to look back at all the units we have received. Doing every nation in one video would make for quite a lengthy video, so we're going to break it up into the 6 main nations and then do all the extras in one last video. In today's entry, we are going to discuss the nation of Dragon Empire. We are starting with the nation of the protagonist of the Overdress anime, Yu Kondo. Let's talk about his ace unit Nirvana, who has received 3 separate forms during the course of the Overdress series. The first being the base form Nirvana, who was released in the start deck. It introduced the mechanic known as Overdress, which allows you to transform a trickstar on your rearguard into one of many Vairinas to gain even greater power. This form has certain cards tied to it specifically, but it doesn't see play outside of the right deck nowadays. Following this, we received Mahar Nirvana, the grade 4 version of the original unit. It further expanded the strategy by introducing us to the grade 4 Vairina and giving the deck access to multi-attack a bit more consistently. Mahar is quite a strong deck with a myriad of choices, but it is not the final iteration of Nirvana. For that, we need to talk about Nirvana Java, another grade 3 that introduced us to Crossover Dress, a new mechanic by which you combine a Trickstar with a Prayer Dragon to form even stronger Vairinas. Java had a built-in 4th attack and very recently gained a method of having 5 attacks which put it on par with Mahar. There are many different builds of Nirvana, from the original to Mahar to Java, and even a Highlander build, which is more of a cool concept than it is a viable strategy. Moving on though, we have Dragon Empire's first encounter deck, Dragonic Overlord. A familiar face for many of us. He maintained his ability to restand and was able to guarantee itself a restand if you went after a rearguard on the first attack, which was very cool. He would receive a new form, so to speak, in Dragonic Overlord at the end. This new form allowed it to restand no matter what, as long as you counterblasted 1 and discarded 2 cards. This would result in you losing a drive. However, if you were to have the original Dragonic Overlord in Soul, you would not lose drives. He would then receive 2 very strong support cards in Drag Greater Halbei and Ardor Hatchet Dragon. Moving on from Dragonic Overlord, we have a unit which many players love, Eugene. The strategy of this deck is to retire your opponent's rearguards and make a board of your own. This deck was tied to 3 attacks for quite a while until you received a unit to restand your vanguard. There was also a strategy in which you summoned the grade 4 Vairinas by stacking them on top of your deck, but this strategy wasn't as common. The deck has received countless waves of support, but has yet to really break through the lower tiers of the meta, unfortunately. Then we have the glitter deck for Dragon Empire, Tamayura. She has 2 forms, although they are quite similar. Tamayura's strategy revolves around calling cards from Soul, 2 specific cards from Soul. The deck had a built-in 5 attacks and quite a decent amount of filtering and searching. Then Tamayura received her new form and it simply elevated her slightly. Both forms call cards from Soul when they attack. The common build plays the original Tamayura in the right deck, and then the new form in the main deck to give yourself 4 persona rights. Moving on from that, we have the stealth decks, Shojodoji and Snek, because its name is too hard to pronounce. Both of these decks use stealth units to accomplish their strategies. So Shojodoji has access to removal that can bypass most resist-like effects and access to a 4th attack. There is even a promo which gives it access to a 5th attack. Now let's talk about Snek, whose strategy gives you access to 6 attacks. This unit binds stealth units from Soul to gain the names of any grade 1 or greater units, stealth units in bind. It does this to then call units with its name from deck to board, which if you are able to play this correctly, you can call a lot of things. Then, if your opponent is grade 3 or greater, your stealth units with the same name as it can attack from the back row. This is how you gain access to 6 attacks. You do tend to prioritize stealth units to gain power and use mostly a lot of cards similar to Shojodoji. But following the stealth boys, we have the weapon master herself, Bavsargra. A deck that many players enjoy and are patiently waiting for it to gain its 4th attack. Bavsargra can be armed with many different arms cards that have a myriad of effects. We have a sword, a shield, a lance, an axe, a mace, and even a gun. But unfortunately, the lack of multi-attack has held this deck back quite a bit. It even gained the ability to overdress in set 12 with the introduction of Overlord. but it has yet to really done much, unfortunately. Following her, we have the second encounter deck for Dragon Empire, Dragonic Vermillion. A very recent deck having been released in set 11. The deck has very little in way of direct support. This doesn't mean the deck isn't good, but it does lag behind quite a bit against certain decks. It did recently receive a promo which does bump its power slightly by giving the deck some extra card draw and recursion. Next up, we have what many players would consider the strongest deck in Dragon Empire currently, Gandeeva. This deck relies on retiring your opponent's rearguards, but it provides a benefit if you are unable to retire any units by letting you bind cards from drop. This allows Gandeeva to provide your front row with extra power for each card bound. The deck has insane card draw, pressure, multi-attack. It, however, has received a limitation on the ban list very recently, putting one of its cards to 1, but it hasn't slowed the deck down too much, and many players are adapting to the new changes quite well. This marks the end of all the units in Wait, what are these? Musashid Armor and Maynard?
What are those?
They are my Crocs.
Alright, well, jokes aside, we are talking about all the units, so we had to include both Maynard and Musashid Armor. Maynard can retire a column of your opponent's rearguards for a CB2 when placed on van or rear. There's nothing really here to work with, but they gave it a banger ability, so it's here. And then Musashid Armor has actually received a support card, weirdly enough. The card in question is Armed Winged Dragon, who gains power and can draw you cards. Hard to really tell what you would build with this, but it is an option, so we are mentioning it. But with that, we are now done with the Dragon Empire chapter of Overdress. Wait, what? Oh, please don't make me talk about Shiranui. Fine. We have one more unit to talk about, although this unit hasn't officially released in English. That being Shiranui Oboro, which brings stride to Dragon Empire, as well as everyone's favorite mechanic, Dominate. Alright, who changed my script? Regardless of that lie they almost made me tell, Dominate is a unique mechanic that forces your own units to attack you. It has access to 2 restanders and can play things like the grade 4 of Arena for even more multi-attack. So, are we done now? Can I end the video? There's one more. I feel like someone forgot to verify their list and is making me look bad here. Fine. The official last unit is Zedolance, another unit not yet released in English. The name may change when he officially releases, so he might not be called Zedolance. This unit is very reminiscent of Ava when she first released. It can gain triple drive and restand. The restand is currently locked to your second grade 3 turn, so turn 4 for you. This unit is from the Youthquake story, I believe, so it should get more support in DivineZ, as Youthquake is a manga story and not really tied to the main continuity. But with that, we are done, and we can look forward to DivineZ, in which we will be receiving the boss from the Quick Start deck and a faded card. So there is that to look forward to. But with that, I'll leave you all. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.